Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to be here with you. The band is back together, as Cass put it, and so we're all here today. This is what, the 17th today? Or the 18th.
18th.
18th
Hmm.
today. I've lost a day. It has been that kind of week. It's been busy and hectic and fun and invigorating, all those good things. And so here we are. Today's topic, we're taking a second look more about community. And community is a vital aspect of all of our lives, and it significantly enhances both the coach and the client experience. So, our conversation as international coaches, we're going to be looking at various aspects of that. And so let's get started with introductions. For those who maybe don't know who we are, we should let them know. So go ahead, Shelley Ann, get us started.
Thank you, Steve. Good day, everyone. And, as per usual, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time you're looking at the program. Thank you for joining us. I am Shelley-Ann Edwards Barron, gratitude guide and habit coach from Trinidad and Tobago. And my area of focus is on gratitude because I believe that everyone over 40 deserves to live their life and pursue their goals with what I've learned is discipline. I absolutely love that word because it balances the bliss of life, that joy and pursuit of happiness with discipline, which is what we need to accomplish our goals and desires. Now, what often happens is that when we hit 40, we enter this period of reflection, most of us, and we find that there's a sort of gap between where we thought we would have been or where we want to be and where we actually are. And when we see that gap, a couple of things happen. Some of us panic, we go into depression, then we decide, you know what? I'm going to fix this. And we add and add and add tasks and agendas and projects to our plate, which usually leads us to burning out and feeling overwhelmed because now we're stressing over getting what we want. And when that happened to me, what I discovered was gratitude. Through a series of events, I realized that gratitude makes a huge difference. So I'm on a mission now to help others pursue this discipline with gratitude, with beginning with just a small habit of I timed myself the other day. So let me check the time. I It was like 4 minutes and about 35 seconds it took me to write down my gratitudes in the morning. So just that amount of time every day makes a huge difference to helping you enjoy your life. And so through all of that, I created something called the gratitude strategy, which looks at saying it right, managing self-talk, saying it loud, which is making gratitude tangible and active, and then establishing that habit of gratitude, which is saying it always. So, if that is something that you're going through, feeling overwhelmed and distressed, and maybe even stuck with where you are, then check me out on LinkedIn. I have a few articles there and posts, and on YouTube I have a year-long series on getting it done with gratitude, and so you should check that out. Send me a message if you want to have a conversation. I can talk about gratitude every day all day long. Thank you.
We're very grateful for that too. That's awesome. Yeah. Cass.
Yeah, hi, I'm Cass J. Henry. I'm an abundance coach working out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I offer my services both virtually and in person. As an abundance coach, it's my job to assist my clients in altering their perspective from one of lack to one of abundance. Together, we'll discover the power of tools like affirmations, habit creation, mindset work, goal setting, experimentation, journaling, just to name a few. And the overarching goal is to achieve a more harmonious balance in your life. So if you find yourself feeling stuck and focusing on everything going wrong in your world right now, let's do a discovery call and see if we're a good fit. I'd love the opportunity to show you the abundance that's already in your life right now. You can find me on CassJHenry.com. And I wanted to just point out the strange occurrence. All three of us are wearing the same outfit that's in our video, our introduction video. What are the odds of that? We are a strange community, that's for sure.
Or we have favorite clothes that we
Yeah, I
wear when
think
we're on
so.
camera.
I think so.
Yeah.
Favorite colors, because I chose this especially because I like the way it fits, with the background colors. It kind of,
Yeah.
stands out. So yeah.
And I jokingly say this is my Steve Jobs look. So um, good observation, Cass. I love it. And I happen to be speaking to somebody about a project you and I are working on. And I mentioned who you were and that you were an abundance coach. And they said, "What's an abundance coach?" So I'm very grateful, Shelly Ann, that I have been here many, many times when you've explained who you are and what you do, Cass, so that I was able to tell them what an abundance coach was. And it really, I've been a student and a practitioner of the law of attraction all my life. And as an abundance coach, that's really what you're doing, is you're bringing people from that state of lack to that place of abundance, in many of the ways that I've studied over my life. So it's just awesome to hear it. I love it. And for those who don't know me, my name is Stephen B. Henry. My friends call me Steve. I'm known by many online as the WordPress wizard and the coach's coach. I have decades of online experience, going back to the early 80s, actually, before the internet was public. I happened to work for a major corporation at that time and was part of the ARPANET military industrial complex network, which later was turned over to the National Science Foundation and NSFNet, and then eventually became the internet as we know it. So I've been online a long time. I've had years of business success and miserable failure before that, and even during the time I was online. And all of that gave me experience. I'm a multi-niche coaching practitioner. That includes being a published author, a digital content creator, an online presence consultant, business success guide, and a personal development mentor. I work with coaches and other online professionals who want to start or expand their online presence. I help them get unstuck in their personal and business lives so they can move forward with their online journey, what I call their online journey of success. And I make tech understandable. I've been told that I turn geek into English. I earn my entire income online helping others do the same. And you can find me at stephenbhenry.com. And as I often say, the time to hire your guide is before you get lost in the woods. So that's where we are, and we're jumping into our second session. The first one was about a year ago, on the concept of community. And we're going to look at a lot of different little aspects of it that we didn't cover before. And some of these will probably have grown out of other sessions that we've had, because we do tend to kind of wander far afield. We pick a topic and then we build that topic out. And it's kind of like a set of Venn diagrams where the circles overlap each other. And we find these connecting points that are there. And the whole purpose of our conversations is to help you guys out there get information you might not easily find. That's important. And we want to help people with things. So we provide advice and structure and ideas. And we also make ourselves available. We are all coaches, and we work with professionals from a broad spectrum. And you're certainly welcome to contact any of us if we sound like we can be helpful. We are all approachable. We're all available from time to time, and we're pretty much affordable too. So don't feel that because we're putting this presentation together like this that you can't reach out to us. We'd be glad to talk. And I think if I can speak for all three of us, that first communication, that sorting out whether we're a good fit call, is free. We don't charge for that. There are people that do, but we don't. And we'd love to have you contact us if we can be of help. And even if you just have a question about something you see in one of our sessions or something that came to mind during our introductions, reach out to us. We're glad to talk. We're glad to chat. Friend us on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you find us, YouTube. And, we can have casual chats as well. Shelley Ann, do you have something you want to add there?
Well, when you spoke about the community and the second time around, and while you were talking about our conversations, it occurred to me that this is also a form of community, our conversations and making ourselves available to have wider conversations with viewers and people who contact us.
Yes.
And since our last conversation, I think my understanding of community and what it means expanded a little bit because sometimes we think of community quite a lot with the tangible people around us in our spaces, but since the internet and certainly one of the fallouts of COVID is that online communities which existed for quite some time, they are now seen quite differently and they're thriving in different ways. And I think that being able to reach out and communicate with people from all over the world. I mean, we are three of us in three different countries right now, and that in and of itself makes the entire world available as a community. And I feel like that is a kind of game changer when you start thinking of things like that. I
Mm-hmm.
know for me, being in a small island, I mean, Steve, you're in the US and Cass is in Canada. I think where I'm from, Trinidad and Tobago, could probably fit into one of your cities a couple times, right? So
Yeah,
when
New
it comes
York,
to,
Toronto. Yeah, yeah,
oh yeah, population wise, you
yeah,
just multiply, add a couple more digits, right?
yeah.
And so, for me, being able to access this kind of conversation and this kind of interaction, it's an expanding sort of community and it makes a difference in being able to see things from multiple perspectives because you really can't get, more different, I think, from the different perspectives and the backgrounds and so on. So that's why I was nodding and smiling and thinking, huh, yeah, while
Yeah,
while
yeah.
you're speaking.
And you're so right. I've got a number of things to talk about today as we go forward, and two of the things that I think relate to what you've just said. I see communities as a place for interactive learning, and what you
Mhm.
just talked about the whole COVID thing, and the various platforms. We're here on StreamYard. I use Zoom in my business. I'm in a community called School, Skool. There's all these different platforms out there that support community interaction
Mhm.
that tie the globe together. My business is global. I work in about a dozen different countries, um, and interactive learning takes on a whole new meaning now. You don't just have to go to college. You don't have to go off to university
Mhm.
somewhere. We're part of a community that is global. And then the second thing is peer support. I find absolutely amazing the support that I get from other people, even people that reach out to me for help with something. I end up learning something from them. And it's just amazing how our peers, the people that we associate with, because they come from so many different places, so many different backgrounds, so many different nationalities, we look
Mhm.
at things differently. And we we gain from that, because even the three of us here now, um, our perspectives are informed by where we are. I've been here for the last 24 years, so I have a lot of the local flavor into who I am. And you just mentioned Trinidad and the Caribbean and the spice atmosphere and all the things that are there. And Cass, you're up in Steel Town, Canada, and that's again a whole different perspective. The way that area is
Mhm. Mhm.
gentrifying and filling up and changing. Um, we see things differently, and yet we can come together and share. And on that thought, Cass, go ahead.
Well, you laid it out perfectly, because I just wanted to give a nuanced definition that I came across of community. It says a community is a group of people who share an identity forming narrative. And I think that's a really wonderful way to put it. So in other words, they build their reality around a particular story, and they foster connections with other people whose stories are similar. And I think that that's something that we've done here. We are international coaches, so we are from different places, but we're offering very similar. If you listen to all of our intros, we're offering very similar services because we believe in that narrative together. And so community forms around these ideas, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where I hear people talk a lot about, where can I find my community? Because I've had conversations with people who were like me, who it's not necessarily that we want to go it alone. It just feels easier to go it alone and not have to deal with, alternative views and those kinds of things. And then when we do that for a long period of time, we eventually find ourselves alone. Even in a crowded room, we feel alone because we're not connected with others. And so for me, I made a conscious effort to change that because I recognized that going it alone is no fun and it's way more challenging and tedious than we might think when we decide to go it alone when compared to going with others. And one of the quotes that you hear bandied about a lot is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And while I was reflecting on that, I thought of go fast, but go where? Where am I going when I go fast, when I go alone? I may not be going in the direction that is going to serve me best. I may not actually be heading toward what I really want to do in life and that fulfillment of purpose that makes me feel complete as a human being. So going fast is really to be left on the racetrack because on a racetrack, you're following a track, you have a direction. But in life, sometimes when we go fast, we don't necessarily recognize the directions that we're going. And that's where community comes in, where we can have these discussions and hear other people's perspective, and even people who believe similarly, they're seeing it from a different side. And so we get to add and learn and expand and then see more of the beauty that there is out there.
Stop and
The
smell the
classic
flowers.
story. I was just going to say it's the classic story of the blind man and the elephant, right? If
That's
you're
exactly what
all
popped into
touching
my head.
if you're all touching a different part of the elephant, you might say, "Oh, the tail feels like a rope, or the side feels like
Mhm.
a wall, or this tusk feels like ivory." You know what that is, right? But until you figure it all out, you don't know that it's an elephant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
This
so that
this
community perspective of having people all around who are looking at it differently and sharing their stories together, sharing their experience together. That's what gives you the full picture of life.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too, because if your direction is wrong, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where you want to go, and that's, I think, one of the, the handful of major problems that people suffer from today is, knowing what they really want, knowing where they really want to go, knowing where they really want to be. They may think they know, but when you start to question them on it, they don't even really understand what they say they want. And that can be difficult. And I happen to be here in Kansas, which is one of what we call the flyover states in the U.S. We're kind of in the heartland of the country, and the airplanes fly over. We see the contrails in the sky, going from the East Coast to the West and back again. And it's very flat here. We say Kansas is miles and miles of nothing but miles and miles. And it's sort of true. So you can get lost. I mean, if you've got the wrong direction, you can imagine yourself not knowing where you're going and you drive over a cliff. Or you can be out in the middle of Kansas and not know which direction to go to get to anywhere, because all you can see is the flat plains of Kansas, and which way is which. So we do that with our lives, or we can do that with our lives, and I've been surprised how many people I've met here in Kansas, which is greatly a farm state. We have about 3 million people total population in Kansas. I'm not sure what the greater Toronto area is anymore, Cass, but it's several million. There's more people in Toronto than there are in all of Kansas. And it's amazing to me. There's in North America, there's a couple of dozen cities that are bigger than all of Kansas in terms of population. And what we have available to us now in the sense of the global community, where we can connect, just as we're sitting here right now, three of us. I'm in another organization that has regular strategy sessions, and there's 15 to 20 people, every week every second week when they have their sessions that are open to the group. And they're from all over the world. I just had a person talking to me yesterday from England that I just met for the first time. They reached out to me, and they had seen me in one of these groups, and and now we're communicating. So my global community has expanded by one more person that I didn't know 2 days ago. So the opportunity to participate in a community, as you say, Shelley Ann, there's no need to go it alone. And I use that catchphrase, the time to hire your guide is before you get lost in the woods. It's a play on words. It's kind of cute, but it's the truth. The time to join a community, the time to find a guide or a coach or a consultant, the time to put together your own community of peers to share with things, is now. It's before you run into serious problems. Having a study buddy before you start studying is a good idea. When you get into the studying and you're so far in that you're lost, and now you're looking around for a study buddy to help keep you on track, might be a little late. So reach out and touch someone. Was that AT&T or Bell Canada that had that expression at one time when they were still trying to get you to use long distance because they made money on it?
I'm going to jump in here and talk about some of the specific types of community you'll find. So things like shared identity. So like if you're the alumnus of a college or university, or your culture or heritage, that might be the kind of thing that you form a community around. Shared purpose. So if you're all looking to, fund ALS or clean up an area or elect a member of a political party, that's something that you might join community around. common objectives. So things like a networking group, or all the people that are on Facebook Marketplace are looking to buy or sell things. So something that you're trying to get done. And then there's the one that most people think about, which is like shared interests and passion. So if you're a part of a sporting group or a cooking group or a hiking group or photography group or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be a shared interest. And then things like common behavior. So if you're looking for like to change some sort of behavior or improve some sort of behavior or habit. So like you mentioned, an accountability buddy, somebody that's going to keep you on task. And some of the ones that people might not think about are things like AA or NA. That's a community of people who are looking to change a behavior. So just wanted to give sort of a structure to some of the things that we've been talking about already.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to recognize that community looks different for different things. It's not the same structure, purpose. Depending on what you're looking for, there is a community that you can engage with. There are some that are very active and they meet regularly and they do things, and there's a heavy accountability. Then there are some that are a little bit more relaxed, where you get more of a support um, to achieve what it is you want to achieve. Some give you direction and purpose. And so there's a lot that we can get out of community in this way. And also, I think a lot that we can give. And so while you were speaking, Cass, what came to me was that community is not only something that we receive from. Community is something that allows us to express ourselves and also contribute. And I feel like both are absolutely necessary for a healthy community. And so, even as we're going into a community thinking, I'm passionate about photography, for example, and I want to talk to other photographers. So I join a photography group. Then what am I going to the group for? What am I going to do? Am I going to just look around and listen? Sometimes that's cool, but it's also cool to share and to give of yourself. And for me, understanding the true benefit of community, I recognize that we need both to really get that holistic and positive impact of community. We need to both give and receive.
Yeah, I just had a look at two communities this week that people reached out to me and invited me, and I have not yet asked them, why they invited me. I usually do. I like to find out where they came across me and what their motivation was in inviting me. And in both of these groups, I looked at them. I will probably not join them. Um, but I looked at them. I always read their rules. I want to play by the rules, and different group leaders have different ideas of how they should, run their group and what leadership is. And both of these groups had very stern rules, or a very stern rule that said no self promotion, no marketing. If you've got anything that even smells like it might be marketing, they're going to kick you out. And there's a lot of groups that have that kind of a rule. And so I went in and I looked at the group, and I looked down the message stream in the group, and 8 out of 10 posts were the administrator of the group, the owner of the group, and of each of their 8 out of 10 posts, probably 6 or 7 of the 8 were them promoting their own products and services and trying to sign you up, for $12 for this or $50 for that. And I'm just not interested in being told I can't promote, which is what most people online, they're either promoting something or they're looking for something. And if you can't promote or even have it appear to be promotion, then that's fine. If that's group rules, I'll abide by those rules. And I'm in a couple of groups where I provide a great deal of content and have never promoted a thing, even though I would like to, because it's a great audience that's there, and it's a group that shares my interests and my way of thinking. So I'd love to promote, but the rule is don't promote. But the administrator or the owner of the group doesn't promote either. So that makes it kind of fair all around. Um, and I think that's interesting in these groups that we go into, and whether it's like a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group of some kind, um, or whether it is a group of people that just get together to share information and so on. There's two really positive things you can get out of those groups, and one is feedback. And you can get continuous feedback. You mentioned photography, and Cass, you mentioned something else that I was going to feed into this, and I can't remember what it was now. But these things that we go to for interest, we get feedback from other members in the community, and that gives us this sense of belonging. But it also gives us real value. We take away real value from there. We can get our questions answered. We can get help with things. Um, you know, it brings innovation and ideas. Other people may have figured something out that we're trying to look with. Today, Cass, right after one of our conversations, you shared a link to a place that has a structured, it was gnomes.com. It has a structured way to break out an issue and break it out into a list. And I was in a group where somebody was looking for exactly that sort of thing, and they had tried a couple, and I knew the ones that they had tried, and those were not what the person was looking for. He was actually working with mind maps and using a mind map to break out his problem into different areas, and he was struggling with it because that's not really what mind maps are designed for. But the place that you had provided the link to is exactly what he was looking for. So I was able to give him that link, and he's ecstatic about it because he now has the tool that he can use to make things happen. And I got that from our association after one of these live sessions. And wow, the ability to do that cross group pollination, if you will,
Yeah, that's
with,
exactly
with
what I was thinking.
yeah, innovations and ideas that we can share. You can't get that anywhere else. You can't buy that. That is
Yeah.
really, really powerful stuff.
I think that that cross group interaction is something that is really powerful because there are times when we need to receive and there are times when we need to give, and sometimes we have a sort of a deficit, if you want to call it that. It's not quite a deficit. There's a space. We want to share, we want to give, we want to contribute, but we don't have the answers. We don't have the um the wherewithal, the tools, and so on. And through interacting with others, we can also recommend other people, direct people. So, try this community, maybe they can answer you. Try over here. Even just that ability to recommend makes a difference. And what I've noticed is that sometimes when we do that, when we share that kind of recommendation for something else, or, give that opportunity to people, like with the gentleman you shared the link with, th- they don't sometimes even know what they need. And it's the same with us. Sometimes we have this idea of what we want to create, but we don't even know what we need to get there. And outside of hiring a coach or a therapist, conversation with others and interaction with others helps us get that clarity. And so I see the interaction in groups and being part of multiple groups where there can be the crossover and sometimes the benefits you get from one, you can transfer to the other. Other people are doing the same thing. So it becomes this community of communities almost
Hmm. Yeah.
where we have this kind of interaction. And to me, as a coach, and recognizing that, as you've said multiple times, Steve, coaches need coaches themselves because we're all human and we all need that additional insight from time to time. We we call it, I guess in business, the word isn't necessarily community, it's more networking because there's a different kind of agenda in business when we think about interacting in communities. So we talk about networking because we're going into it with an agenda of what we want. Community to me feels a little bit different because while I'm going into it with an agenda of what I want, I'm also going into it with an agenda of what I can give and also just for the experience of being around others. And so, like I said, my idea of community and understanding of community has completely been expanded. And I think it started, I can't remember exactly when, but certainly that conversation we had the last time about community sort of sparked certain things. And I'm actually seeing it as so beneficial that I want to even go out on a limb and say, if you're not a member of a community, you honestly don't know what you are missing.
Absolutely. One of the words I use with clients and with other people is toolkit. That you're building your toolkit with different, sources, options, tools, things that you can use to do different parts of your life. And each of us has our own toolkit, and they may, like the Venn diagram, they may cross over in certain ways, but they will also have things outside of them, especially when it comes to lived experience, that's something that you cannot always replicate. It's great that you went to school for something, it's great that you learned all about it, but if you have no lived experience with it, you're coming at it from a different perspective. And so your toolkit probably has a lot of tools in it, plus your lived experience that you can draw on. And when you go interact with somebody else and their toolkit is available, you can draw on their lived experience to be able to share and teach and inform you about decisions you might be making in your life, choices, habits you want to start, goals you want to set. And I think that those toolkits, interaction is just a really fun thing that can happen in community, but it can also be missed if you're not in community. You miss out on that. You're only drawing from your own secluded toolbox. And in a world that's constantly changing and constantly evolving, that's just not enough. You may be a wonderful and a very capable human being, and that's great. We all are, but that's just not enough alone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a specific example of that, which just came to mind as you were speaking about that. My older sister dropped out of high school, I think in grade 10, and later on, after she'd been married and had 2 children, she was interested in getting a job in a certain area, and she had to have completed high school. And at that time, there was no structure. Ontario used to have the GED process where you could complete your education by writing tests and qualifying. But back when she was doing it, the only way to get your high school degree was to go back to high school or your high school diploma rather. Go back to high school and take the courses and complete the number of years you needed. So she had to go back and complete grade 11 and grade 12, and she was in her 30s, and she had to go and sit in a class with all these teenagers, and one of the classes that was mandatory for her to take was family studies. And she would come home just about pulling her hair out. She couldn't believe what was being taught by a young teacher just out of teaching college who was not married, had no kids, and actually had no siblings either. So you talk about lived experience. And the teenagers who were putting their comments in on how they thought things should be, and they had, little or no experience directly themselves. And she had all this experience that she wanted to share, but nobody wanted to listen to it because she was just this old lady that was coming back to get her diploma, and so they didn't care, and it frustrated her to no end. But I think that we see that today. We see a better opportunity because of the way we can communicate globally, and I mentioned in passing the idea of long distance charges on phones. People don't, young people today have no idea how difficult it was to call somebody not only around the world, but in the next city over. You were paying long distance fees to connect with them, and you had to make very quick calls because the fees were pretty high and they added up quickly. And initially on cell phones, there was a charge. The first phones that came out that allowed text messaging, they used to charge 5 cents a message. There's people using cell phones today, messaging, texting on it, that have no idea that there was once a charge for texting. And so we've come into this glorious time where technology is our friend. AI is becoming our virtual assistant, literally virtual assistant. It's astonishing what we have available. Sorry, Cass, you were going to go ahead with something.
Oh no, I was just going to jump in and say the ways we hacked the system is we would make a collect call and it would say, you have a collect call from Mom, I made it home, I'm good, call you later, bye, I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
While the operator was talking on the line, it was actually open. Yeah, I know.
Listen, and those were the days when you used to be charged for receiving a call as well. There was that time too. It was crazy times. And as you're saying that, and we're talking about, definitely how times have changed. Um, a thought just popped into my mind. I know before we jumped on the live, we were chatting about the various aspects of community we want to touch on and what we spoke about last time and so on. And one of the things that came up was that I know during our last conversation, a lot of the conversation on community was on the individual being in community and that whole concept and experience. And this time around, I know one of the things that, since we're coming out of that conversation on branding and all these other issues as coaches, the idea of having a community as part of your service, part of your offering as a coach, and whether you create your own, how to build it, or you join another one and you contribute significantly. So that is something that I really want us to touch on. It might need to be another conversation because, as always, we talk a lot. There's so much to share. But as a coach, I know having a community where you can engage and support with the input of others is something that, there's a huge industry for, coaches and service providers having their own community. So I wanted us to, touch on that a little bit to get your thoughts.
Well, Cass and I are working on a joint project right now, which is a community, and it's called Your Everyday Bag. And if you want to see it, folks, you can go to youreverydaybag.com and have a look at what we're building. We're not quite ready to launch yet, but we actually have a pre-launch for founding members, people who would like to join in with us, because this is going to be a community that involves a lot of people, a lot of perspectives, and Cass and I can't build it only on our own. We need other input. We need people to, provide suggestions. We need to have a community within the community to provide motivation. That's one of the things you mentioned that word a couple of times, Shelley-Ann, when you were talking. And, to keep something running, you need motivation, and it's there. And, other ideas, other approaches, you need inspiration. Motivation and inspiration go, along together. And something that
To lead to perspiration if you're doing it right.
well, I was just going to say one of my earlier mentors used to talk about sweat equity. And he said that to make things happen, you can have all these other fancy terms, but you have to take action and you have to sweat. You have to make it happen. You have to work. And he called it sweat equity. So what sweat equity do you have into this project? And so we'd like, other people to come and take a look at it. You're sharing the domain there now. And folks, if you want to go have a look at it, see what it is primarily, but I stress, not only directed at women and perhaps, coaches and online professionals. But it's open to everybody. And I think it will be a community. I know it will be a community that's going to offer some amazing things. But it's an example of a community. And I would stress to all coaches, whatever your niche, whatever the style of coaching you do, whatever, I think there's two sides to this. One, you should be part of a community. Find a community that can work for you. It might not be this one, but find one that can work for you and check it out and participate in it for a while. And if it doesn't work, get out and find another one. So you need a community. You need to be part of a community. I really think that's a need, not just, a possibility.
Mm-hmm,
And then the other side of it, and I'll give this back to you, but the other side of it then is use community as a tool within your own business. And there are some platforms where you can build a community. I mentioned Skool, SKOOL.com, and they have a program that they have different levels of the program. I think it starts at $99 a month. It's one of the nicest platforms that I've seen for interacting with people and building a community. It has issues. They all have problems, but it's quite good. The other solution for you as a coach, building your own community, and I really don't recommend social media places like LinkedIn or Facebook. Those are great places to meet people and have groups where people can get together. But if you're actually going to run a community, get on a platform that's designed for it, or build your own within a WordPress website. A self-hosted WordPress website has all the features and functionality that you need to put together a community and serve that community. And if you don't know how to do it yourself, hire it done. Cass and I are building the Your Everyday Bag community on a WordPress website, and it is phenomenal what is possible, to be able to put together with that. And the WordPress website software is free. The site that we're building, the WordPress software and all the plugins that we're using to make it happen are free. All we need to do is pay for the hosting and pay for the domain name. And that's, a few dollars a month. There's no need to have high expensive bills when that material is out there, and it's quality material. It's truly quality material. And WordPress is not some little fringe thing that's out there. The modern website structures are what are referred to as content management systems, CMS. And in the entire CMS marketplace, there are more than 100 software packages available. I track the first 100. After that, they're so infinitesimal that I don't bother. But I track the first 100. From 1 to 10, you go from WordPress that represents 65%, 65% of content management systems, of all of them. And by the time you get to the one that's number 10, you're less than 1%. So the people using WordPress know something that a lot of other people don't know. It's a powerful package. I don't make any money on it. I'm not part of the company that owns it. They give it away. It's updated regularly. It stays current with the technology. It's just one of the best deals out there. I took a long time to get comfortable with it, and now I pretty much choose to work with nothing else. For my own work, I use nothing else. I occasionally take on a client that has some other package for their website, but I don't like to do that because WordPress is so powerful and so flexible. So it's a pitch
Yeah.
for that. But if you're going to build a community, you need a platform to build it on, and that's a place to start.
And so what I'm hearing then is that, again, it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, that community is huge, not just personally or professionally, but it is huge because of the fact that it combines certain aspects of what we are as human beings, social communicators. And so we get to the point where we're saying a couple of things. Join a community for your own benefit and to fulfill your life's purpose by sharing and receiving, and leverage community for your business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one or the other. Do both, please.
Yeah, that's a very succinct, perfect way to put it, and I think that is today. If we're going to function in the global community after COVID, and with all of the things that are out there that we can do, like look at the three of us. I mean, I just I'm an old guy, and I was back there when it was hard to do anything. And I look at where we are today, things that we couldn't have dreamed of back then. And here we are sitting in 3 different countries, communicating live with each other with full color pictures, and sharing outward to how many people are listening to us live right now, and then how many people are going to see the replay because we post it out in different places for people to see. And we're just 3 coaches that have our own little businesses, our own little coaching practices. We are not, I follow a handful of coaches that I, think are wonderful because they share so much great stuff. And, they're making, one of them I know gets $10,000 a day, $10,000 a day for consulting with companies about a certain aspect of work that he coaches on. That's pretty amazing. I know another one that I follow that has 10,000 people show up at a convention where he is speaking and sharing his trainings with people, and he has to get a venue that can handle 10,000 people. Whoa, these are phenomenal things. Well, I'm not at that level. I probably have some pretty good knowledge to share, but I'm affordable. So reach out to me. Shelly is affordable. Cass is affordable. Reach out when you may not like me. That's okay, but there's 3 of us here. Pick and choose, or somebody else. I mean, that's the thing. But I really believe that coaches should have. I know, Cass, you don't like the word "should" as much, but I truly believe that if we're going to be in the coaching business, we need to have somebody we can talk to regularly, partly because things are changing so rapidly. We can't possibly be on it by ourselves if we're also, building a business. We need those, 1 hour a week or whatever it is that we can kick around ideas. Um, and so as coaches, we need to do that just as we tell our clients that they should have a coach. We promote ourselves to them. Then as coaches, we should also have a coach. And and it goes full circle that the coaches that if you're a coach and you should have a coach, then that coach should also have a coach, and or a mentor or a guide. And I've had some amazing guides over the years, amazing mentors, and it's really powerful what you get from it. Cass, go ahead.
I just want to put a little bit into why we don't use should is that it's a cop out. When you say should, you just said that. You're not really saying anything. What you mean is that coaches will benefit from having a coach.
Absolutely.
When you just say should, you haven't given it any structure, right? So coaches
That's
will
why I
definitely
referred to
benefit
you
from having.
yeah. I knew you would explain it. See, Cass is my coach, and she is
Benefit of community. That's it.
yes,
This is
Yeah.
benefit of community by, saying
yeah,
things out loud. We get to clarify our
yes.
ideas. We get to, and while I'm saying that, I want to add that this is why it's a good idea for coaches to leverage community for their business, because this is an opportunity to make community available to those who follow you and those who want to engage with you. There are times when you will need to be sleeping and eating and doing other things, but when you build a community, that community exists and it takes on a life of its own. And so you are creating a safe space for your followers to exist in an understanding of whatever area you're coaching on or whatever service you're offering. It's just, somewhere people can reach out to. And that I think is where the value comes in. Um, so in terms of coaching, I mean, I do it in my primary business is the teaching of writing, in addition to page and website and those things. I am part of a community where people ask questions and they engage. And even when I am not there as one of the admins, even when I am not there, there is engagement and support and camaraderie that I personally, as a provider, I can't give that to 11,000 plus people, right? And the group is
Yeah.
growing exponentially, hundreds of people every week. But I can't give me personally to those people individually for all their needs. And that is an aspect of community that I feel makes a difference. The fact that the burden of support is not on one individual alone. The burden of support gets spread throughout the community. And so it's like we're holding each other up, and no one person is claiming to have all the answers. We're here to support each other. And so, as a coach, I feel like that alone is worth expending the energy for creating, starting, building, and maintaining a community, because then you offer your followers and subscribers something beyond what even you can think is imaginable.
Before we run out of time, I wanted to. No, I didn't want to end on this note, but this is where it's coming in. I have a little bit of a downer piece here. The idea that communities will disagree, that they have opposing ideas, that's normal. That's fine. You may be a part of one political party, somebody's a part of another. You may like chocolate, another person likes tofu. Maybe it's professional wrestling and rugby, whatever it is. You can be on opposing or differing parts of community. But I think it's always really important to bring up the James Baldwin quote that we can disagree and still love each other. unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. So if your identity as a community group is rooted in the oppression and denial of humanity of another community group, then there's a major problem in your community. And you would be wise to investigate why you're part of that group, why you feel like you relate, and probably sever ties. Because there are ways that community can be oppressive to other community. I just wanted to have that as part of our discussion, but we're out of time now.
I love that,
Yeah.
though. You shared it. Thank you. And yes, we are out of time. Do we have a topic for next week?
Have we done curiosity?
Ooh.
Yes, we have. But if I tell you that conversation went like that and we could do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's
Powerful.
been a while. Let me see if I find it. I know we looked at curiosity, but I can't find it. Yeah, I'll probably put a link to that episode at some point. But we did, yeah, being curious, but that was like November last year. This is episode 7. We could so deal with curiosity again.
So curiosity for next week. Everybody on board with
Mhm.
that? I am. Good.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yep.
you, everybody. Thanks, team. The band back together was just so wonderful. We've covered so many things here today, and to you guys out there who were listening live, you got it first, and to those watching the replay, you got it too. So that's cool. And we'll see you all again next week, Thursday at 11 Eastern Time. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.